As her daughter was mauled by a bear. On August 2011, a 19-year-old Olga Moskolyova went fishing with her stepfather at a river in the village of far eastern Siberia. This area is known for its significant bear population and it's home to one of the largest brown bears in the world. On this day, Olga called her mother and told her that she was being eaten by a bear. At first, she thought her daughter was joking, but then she heard the bears growling and chewing and she realized that this was real.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. Let me talk about it. We break down, man, the most scariest, creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank each and every single one of my supporters who come back to the channel each and every single day, watch the video entirely. Commenting down below, most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button, man. You're helping us push us into the algorithm, man, so more seekers can find us. We're growing, and I appreciate that, man. Found this video for you guys today, seekers. Let's do what we do best, man. Let's seek the truth. Creepiest places in the world.
The creepiest places in the world. Gate to Hell, Turkmenistan. It's been burning for past 40 years and no one knows when it's going to stop.
Lake Natron, Tanzania.
Due to high levels of salt contents, everything that touches the lake turns to pure stone.
Oh.
Surprising facts about every single country in the world, part 31. North Korea doesn't tax its citizens. Argentina once had 5 different presidents in 2 weeks. Bulgaria, no army ever has ever captured the Bulgarian flag in battle. Czechia is the most atheist country in the world. Israel developed voicemail technology.
This mother listened as her daughter was mauled by a bear. On August 2011, a 19-year-old Olga Moskolyova went fishing with her stepfather at a river in the village of far eastern Siberia. This area is known for its significant bear population and it's home to one of the largest brown bears in the world. On this day, Olga called her mother and told her that she was being eaten by a bear. At first, she thought her daughter was joking, but then she heard the bears growling and chewing and she realized that this was real. Her mother then called her husband, which is Olga's stepfather, but little did she know he was already deceased. The story is that they were done fishing and were on their way back when they realized that they forgot something. So they walked back to the river and came face to face with a brown bear and her cubs. Olga's stepfather was attacked first and Olga tried to run away, but the bear caught up to her. While Olga's stepfather was already deceased, the bear came back several times to attack Olga until she was dead. But during the attack, Olga was able to call her mother 3 times, and during this call, she told her that she was being eaten by the bear and her cubs. She then ended the conversation by telling her mother that she loved her. The mother called police and they arrived to the location in about 30 minutes and they found the bear still eating her husband's body. Like I said, this area is known to have a lot of bears, so people usually bring protection with them, but it was said that Olga and her stepfather did not.
Facts that will blow your mind.
This is a tragic story, seekers, man. You're getting eaten alive and you're calling your mom and your mom has to hear that. That's just devastating, man. To have the willpower, man, you're getting eaten alive by a bear to even make those calls, and she said 3 times. She's a strong person.
Humans are the only animals that enjoy spicy foods. Potato chips cause more weight gain than any other food. It's impossible to hum while you hold your nose. The least interesting day in history was April 11th, 1954. Aldous Huxley and C.S. Lewis died on the same day as JFK. Bigger forks lead you to eat less. The longest living insect is the termite. Chewing gum after a meal reduces heartburn. Dogs can smell cancer. Bees can detect bombs. Follow and comment below which fact blew your mind.
That dogs can smell cancer and bees can detect bombs? What the hell?
Places that look more creepy at night.
Country roads at night. Dangerous place. Playground at night. Some stuff go down there too.
Through
was an edit. You gotta spot them out, man. When we see the edits, call them out. Especially, like I said, you can call them out down below, man, because I might miss some edits too. Let's help each other out, man.
I walked out of the theater after seeing Saw X and decided I need more. So here's 3 horror movies you need to watch, especially if you like Saw. First up is this absolutely insane movie called 31, about 5 carnival workers who get kidnapped by crazy killer clowns and forced to play a deadly game called 31. If I had to describe this movie in 2 words, it would be weird.
31. I guys know because I'm kind of not big on horror films, but you said she got inspired after seeing Saw. Isn't that like a psychological thriller though? I guess with horror mixed in it as well. The Collector.
As well, so follow for more.
Here's some of the scariest unknown creatures caught on camera. Part 6. This drone footage captured in the deep parts of the Salt Fork Park in Ohio captures what may be evidence of the elusive Bigfoot. As the drone begins to land, pay attention to the thickets and tell me what you think.
Okay. Definitely saw some in the corner. Bigfoot, was he confirmed, man? You guys know we've seen a lot of sightings or Bigfoot and Sasquatch, but nobody has really able, I guess, been to like, you know, hunker down and really confirm if it's true or not. That could just be like a different type of animal roaming the forest or guy in a costume, man. We never know. That's interesting, though. See if I can find some more footage.
Homeowners. I don't know about you, but I've grown tired of that feeling you get every month waiting for the delivery of the electricity bill. Like many of us, I was fed up of the constant price hikes and the feeling of hopelessness when my electricity bill arrived every month. I felt like I had no control over what I was being charged, and I searched all over to find a solution. That's when I decided to take control of my energy costs. I reached out to a consultant at Zodiac who introduced me to their T1 Powerwall battery. At first, I was skeptical. Why would I need a solar storage system when I don't even have solar panels? But after a quick 10-minute phone consultation, everything clicked. The Powerwall can be charged at night when electricity is cheap at 9p per kilowatt hour. This means that I can store inexpensive energy at night and use it during the day when the electricity rates are higher. Since installing the Powerwall, my electricity bill has been dramatically reduced even without using solar panels. The service and support team from Zodiac has been outstanding. So much so that I decided to take the next step in my renewable journey. And I'm planning to add solar panels to my setup to aim for a zero
electricity bill? Something we should all be aiming towards.
Here's some of the most random fun facts you will ever hear in
Zephyr,
your life.
I'm about to check that out.
Armadillo shells are actually bulletproof. One time a man was hospitalized when he shot at an armadillo and the bullet ricocheted off the shell and hit him instead. There's only one letter in the entire alphabet that isn't in any US state name, and that letter is Q. There's not a single state with the letter Q in its name.
Really?
71% of the earth is covered in water, and humans can only use 0.007% of that water. 2.5% of the total water is fresh water, and only 1% of that is actually accessible. The bumblebee bat is the smallest mammal in the entire world. These things can rest on your fingertips, and you might not even know because they weigh 0.05 to 0.07 ounces. Ostriches are the world's largest and heaviest living bird. It's why they can't fly, but they are built for running, and they can reach speeds of up to 43 miles per hour, and they can pretty easily coast at 30 miles per hour. The longest English word is 189,819,000 letters long. It's a protein and its nickname is titin, and it would take around 3.5 hours to say the word out loud.
He murdered his great-grandmother for $133. In 2012, 13-year-old Antonio Barbo and his best friend Nathan Papp both murdered his great-grandmother in the most horrific way. On that day, Antonio's mother drove the kids to her grandmother's house, 78-year-old Barbara Olson, but she had no idea what they were about to do. The two teens tried to sneak into Barbara's house, but then she heard them, so she invited them inside. Once Barbara turned around, her great-grandson hit her with a hatchet. Barbara was hit 27 times and had wounds all over her hands and arms, indicating that she tried to defend herself. The teen stole Barbara's jewelry along with $155 and then used that money to buy drugs and pizza. They tried to drag Barbara's body into her car, but when they couldn't pick her up, they just left her in the garage. Barbara's body was found 2 days later by her own daughter, and the boys were arrested not long after. Nathan argues that he thought Antonio was just joking about murdering his own great-grandmother, and he only participated because he was afraid that Antonio would turn on him. Antonio's grandmother, who's also the victim's daughter, spoke out and said that her mother was not a vindictive person and she would have wanted Antonio to have another chance at life. And Antonio's defense really tried to argue that he had a brain injury back in 2009 and that's the reason he did what he did. But none of that mattered because both of these teenagers were sentenced to life in prison and are eligible for parole in 2048.
For some money, man. I tell you, bro, money. It's the root of all evil, bro. For $155, and their lives are over.
These are things that don't exist anymore. Up first is Heinz Purple Ketchup.
What?
I never had this or even seen it, but I heard it was really good and everybody liked it. Next up are house phones. Everybody had house phones back in the day, but when cell phones started to blow up, these kind of went outdated. Yes, I know some people have them, but not a lot of them do anymore. Next is cursive writing. Kids nowadays can't even read cursive writing and can't even write in cursive. The only thing that is cursive now is signatures.
Yep.
When I was growing up, they made us write cursive and learn it. But nowadays, they just don't.
I remember, growing up in the lower grades, we used to learn cursive, but they stopped doing that.
What is the number one thing that people say they regret before they die? So the following is according to a nurse who spent several years caring for patients in the last 12 weeks of their life. So regret number 5 on the list is that I wish I'd let myself be happier. Regret number 4 on the list is that I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. She said that many had become so caught up in their own lives that they had forgot their golden friendships and let them slip by as the years went on. Regret number 3 is I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Now regret number 2 is that I wish I hadn't worked so hard. She said that this came from every male patient that I nursed. They had missed out on their children's youth or their partner's companionship. And regret number 1 was that I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. Most people had not even honored half of their dreams, and that they had to die knowing that it was due to the choices that they had made or not made.
Follow your dreams, seekers, man. Don't know, may they tell you different.
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that's where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips.
What the hell?
With me.
The most historic case that has ever taken place in DC history is probably one that you have never even heard of. One of the scariest cases that I've read in a long time. This is the very true story of the Freeway Phantom. In the 1970s, there was a man in Washington, D.C. who people named the Freeway Phantom because he had one very specific MO. He was only going after young black girls and women. He was abducting them off the street and then their bodies would be found here, left and positioned right at the freeway. Actually, in the investigation, they profiled him as someone who was a textbook psychopath. He was repeatedly calling the families after he had abducted these girls, and he was breathing into the phone, and then he would say something like, "I just killed your daughter," and then hang up. Even left a handwritten note with the body of one of his victims. If you want the full story on this, we are going to cover it on the show. Mysteriously, in the 90s, all the records on the case vanished.
This pedophile funeral director invited another man to come smoke meth and abuse a corpse with him in a funeral home in England. This story is extremely disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. Meet Nigel Robinson Wright, who was 42 at the time of his arrest. So online, Nigel had a completely different life than in person. In the real world, Nigel was overseeing funerals and helping people deal with the process of death and grief. But online, Nigel frequented pedophile chat rooms. He egged people on who were essaying animals. He chatted with people about his arousal with dead bodies. And he even offered to show up to a man's house who offered him his own toddler to abuse. So these chats eventually got so extreme that they were turned over to the police. And when the police went to Nigel's house, they confiscated all of his electronic devices. And that's where they found some very disturbing things. There were all sorts of different pornographic videos found on Nigel's devices. Videos that involved animals, dogs, children, and yes, corpses. So Nigel was seeking out all of this violent, extreme material on the internet and even commissioning other users to create this content for him. And in those chats, the authorities discovered Nigel and an acquaintance talking about their previous time spent in the funeral home that Nigel managed. Yes, some of these chats were extremely graphic and involved doing things with dead bodies that humans should never be doing. And they talked about how they had done other things all throughout the funeral home, in the chapel, on the benches, everywhere. So at the end of the day, Nigel was sentenced to 17 years in prison. I don't think that's nearly long enough of a sentence, but yeah, he's gonna be out, in a decade or so. And judging by this dude's twisted mind and his past on the internet, I definitely don't think it's gonna be safe to have him back out in society.
Here are some creatures you should be glad.
Surely.
The Gigantopithecus holds the record for being the largest ape to ever live. They grew to be around 10 feet tall, weighed over 1,200 pounds, and lived in what is now southern China for 6 to 9 million years. They eventually went extinct at the beginning of the Pleistocene ice ages around 100,000 years ago. Scientists believe that this primate walked on all fours like modern apes do, while others believe that they walked with a bipedal or human-like motion, but there is no way to tell who's correct. Due to the way their teeth and jaws were constructed, they had the ability to crush, cut, and grind down almost anything, including very tough and fibrous foods. With all this in mind, this is not an animal you would want to come across in the jungle.
Wouldn't. Sounds like they're gonna grind your bones to dust.
This delivery person has quite the imagination. In fact, he hates his job, so he came up with an idea to make it more interesting. Look at how he delivers his packages. He attached a hoverboard to the back and a wheel to the front so he can move around like a car. And the best part is that he can place his bag on the wheel. He thought of absolutely everything. Beautiful.
Here are the worst
Truly, he
mistakes
did.
ever made by teachers. Part 3. When it comes to discussing serious topics in the classroom, like the slave trade, the teacher should talk about it with care and sensitivity. But a social studies teacher from the Bronx named Patricia Cummings didn't do this. She had black students lie down on the floor as a demonstration, and allegedly stepped on at least one student's back. She was, of course, fired, but she decided to sue the New York City Department of Education for $120 million. Next, an elementary school teacher from Wales named Elizabeth Davies was in charge of a group of students that had a good number of Bangladeshi students. And she complained that those students constantly smelled of curry and would spray them with air freshener. Needless to say, she was let go. And a teacher from Florida was so fed up with the disruptive students' behavior that she taped the student's mouth shut. She then tried making a point that what happens in her classroom stays in her classroom. Except then this story hit the local news and it became a sticky situation for her.
Why do teachers think they could do, or some teachers think they could do things like that, and they just think they're gonna avoid the consequences, man? Like, their kids, well, obviously they're gonna tell their parents or friends. Someone is gonna find out. That first story is crazy, man, how she made those kids demonstrate that. And then she tried to sue them for money. People be trying to sue you for the wrong things. There's this guy. Listen at it.
Words of Satanists before dying. Aleister Crowley. I am perplexed. Anton Lavey. Oh my, what have I done? There is something very wrong. David Hume. I am in flames. Voltaire. I am abandoned by God and man. I will give you half of what I am worth if you give me 6 months of life. Sir Francis Newport. Oh, that fire. Oh, the insufferable pangs of hell. Thomas Paine. Stay with me. For God's sake, I can't bear to be left alone. Oh, Lord, help me.
These are the world's freakiest land animals. In 2022, a TikToker named Caustica uploaded a video that showed a weird-looking creature running around his backyard. Once the video went viral, wildlife experts took to the comments to explain that it was a lesser blind mole rat. And this is because of how its tiny eyes are nearly tucked under its skin. They spend most of their time underground creating tunnels with their massive teeth. In 2020 in British Columbia, a woman was walking around when she saw a bug that looked like a tarantula with wings. She then shared a photo of the bug to Facebook, where wildlife experts explained that this was a very big moth called a polyphemus moth. These moths have huge bodies, and despite their scary looks, they don't have mouths to bite. And they have a lifespan of about 2 weeks. And in 2024 in Sydney, Australia, a TikToker named Blonde heard a weird tapping sound coming from her window at night, and she went to investigate. And what she found is like something out of nightmares. At her window, a bat was tapping on the glass, trying to find a way to escape the storm. And it stayed around until the next morning, where Blonde had to call a bat expert to come remove it. But this turned out to be a non-aggressive species of a bat known as a flying fox. And they only eat fruit or flowers. They also struggle to keep warm when they're wet, which explains why it was at her window. Now I just feel sorry for the little guy.
This skier is about to do something terrifying. In fact, he's a world champion in skiing, and during his competitions, he developed a unique technique to go much faster and especially much further.
Sorry, but I'm number one.
Gliding. Like a Batman or something.
The whole Nico avocado situation is completely fake and driving everybody insane. At least that's what a lot of people are saying on here. Let me explain. So yesterday I'm sure you saw this video where he revealed himself finally after a few months of not being active. And of course the majority of you remember him like this over the past few years making content across various platforms. People are going crazy saying, how the hell is it possible he lost this much weight in between 2 and 7 months? Is it Ozempic? Is it, I don't know what's going on. Which has led many people to believe that these are actually all pre-recorded. Because this is what he used to look like 8 years ago. So people are saying that basically all that time ago he pre-recorded all of these videos ready to put them out and basically prank everyone. Especially many people cottoning on to the fact that he has this bird in this video, which he had a long time ago and apparently the bird died. But he said he got a new one. However, this video that he posted yesterday was of the Charlie XCX Apple dance, which obviously is a new trend, so how would this be pre-recorded? And he said it's not been 2 months, he's basically pre-recorded these videos over the last couple of years during his transformation. So all the content the last couple of years was pre-recorded, and the stuff now is finally the real him. It's definitely interesting, and I mean, congrats to him for losing that much weight, it is crazy. And as always, hit that follow button, and I'll keep you updated.
This is the scariest...
That Nico avocado situation, it was actually insane, man. Saw it trending. But if he actually if he can pre-recorded those videos for years and was working on his transformation, like his video said, he really was 2 steps ahead. That's insane, man. He lost that much weight. But to put your body through that, I couldn't do it.
Story about the bath. Jennifer was sitting at her desk in her room. She was finishing up her homework when she suddenly got a text from a number she did not recognize. The text message said, "Take a bath and go to bed, it's a school night, Mom." Jennifer thought her mom's phone died, and she used somebody else's phone to text her. She already planned on taking a bath, so she undressed and grabbed a towel and walked into the bathroom. She stopped in her tracks and was surprised that the bathtub was already filled. "I guess my mom filled it in advance," she said. She then shrugged her shoulders and got in the bathtub. When she was in the bathtub, she became aware of a burning sensation all over her body, and it got worse and worse until she was crying. She then jumped out of the bath, but it was too late. The water was blood red, and the skin on her arms and legs were beginning to peel off. She was dripping blood and skin. She then picked up her phone to call the police, but there was a new text message waiting for her. It said, "Next time, bathe in water." Jennifer then heard laughter behind her, and standing there was a man holding an empty container of sulfuric acid.
Oh.
Before hiking this trail, there is a warning sign that states if you have difficulties passing through the 2 posts, you should not continue. People have been calling nature fat-phobic and that it should be widened for plus-sized people, but the sign is warning people that the canyon is very narrow to avoid anyone getting harmed. What do you think?
These are human body parts that may disappear in the future. First up is body hair. Originally, it protected ancient humans from harsh weather conditions. However, over time, with modern clothes and changes in environmental conditions, human body hair has significantly decreased and continues to do so. Many scientists believe it might eventually completely disappear. Next are wisdom teeth. They used to serve an evolutionary purpose for ancient humans who had much rougher diets and needed more chewing power. But our diets have softened and our jaws have become increasingly smaller. As a result, they have no space to properly grow in, and many people need to have them surgically removed. Many babies are now being born without wisdom teeth, and scientists believe this will eventually be the standard. Finally, we have male nipples. Everyone starts as female in the womb, and before the Y chromosome kicks in for males, nipples have already formed. When the baby becomes male, the prolactin levels decrease, making the male nipples non-functional. So while it's debated, some scientists think they'll disappear.
No more male nipples? That's freaking a crazy image to think about, bro.
Here's a list of historical facts that will mess with your perception of time. The last execution by guillotine in France happened after the first ever Star Wars premiered. What? The corporation Nintendo, that was formed the same year that Starry Night was painted. By Vincent van Gogh. The Roman Empire fell in 1453. And America was discovered 40 years later in 1492. Those 2 points in history are miles apart in my head. In 1861, Italy became an official country. And in 1886, Coca-Cola was invented. They were probably serving Coke at the 25-year anniversary of Italy itself. Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman, both prominent female figures in the civil rights movement, were alive during the same time. Like for a few months, but that's still crazy. In 1686, Isaac Newton came up with the 3 laws of motion. And in 1692, the Salem witch trial started. We were doing so well with science. And then we were just like, oh no, women are witches actually.
We were just getting some tragic news that 17 students have just been killed and 13 others have been seriously injured after a fire broke out at a school dormitory in Nairobi, Kenya. And that number is sadly expected to go up as there are still another 70 children missing. Now, we do not know what caused the fire yet, but what we do know is that there were more than 150 kids in the dormitory when the fire broke throughout the neighborhood. And the reason it was so deadly is that most of the buildings in the school are made out of wood, so it spread rapidly. The average age of the victims is only 9 years old.
John Chow hired 2 fishermen to take him out to this little island in the Indian Ocean. The next morning when the sun came up, John asked the fishermen to take him in a little bit closer, but the fishermen refused. So John puts a kayak in the water and he begins paddling into this island. He sees someone come out of the forest who has their face painted yellow. They all start looking at each other and they start screeching and running down the beach towards John. John stands there until they come all the way up to him. They don't shoot him with arrows, but they take his kayak. And then at some point, a child pulls his bow and arrow out and fires a bow directly at John. And he was holding a Bible, and he stopped the arrow with his Bible. And at that point, John is like, okay, I gotta go. And he jumps in the water, and without a kayak, has to swim a mile to get back to the fishing boat. And so the next day, he told the fishermen he wanted them to drop him off, and he would swim in, and he wanted them to leave and be completely out of sight. And so the fishermen drop him off, and they leave. The next day, when the fishermen come back to collect John, they see these people dragging his body by a rope. No one knows exactly what happened to John, how they killed him, but it's too dangerous for anyone to go back and retrieve his body, and so his body remains at North Sentinel Island. The few hundred people that live on North Sentinel Island that were responsible for killing John Chow, they're referred to as the Sentinelese, and they are unbelievably primitive. The Sentinelese want only Sentinelese on that island. No one else can be there. If you're not a Sentinelese and you try to go to their island, they'll...
Look, why did he go back there? Is he trying to like make contact with them? But some tribes, like you said, they just don't accept outsiders. I mean, that's I used to bake people, turn them into sandwiches or something, right? I don't see how people can do that. Creepy ass dolls. We don't mess with those seekers at all. The Hills of Oz. Twins. Whew. Man. Admit. Sending those letters, what the hell? Oh, 4 feet. Woo. Interesting. We learning out of these clips, man. They informing us. Views on the screen. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys comment down below. Helps out the video. Also, hit that thumbs up button. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to follow me on my social medias down below. Guys, I'm catching the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.
Turned out to be true. In the 1970s in Long Beach, California, there was an amusement park called the Pike Amusement, and inside this park was this creepy little fun house called Life in the Dark.
Okay.
Inside of Life in the Dark were a bunch of mannequins, and this urban legend started circulating around that all of them were fake except one. There was just something about this mannequin that turned people away. They said he was a little too human, and they even said that the area around it was just stanky. So flashing forward to a few years later, a TV crew comes in to film The $6 Million Man, and they decide to use Laugh in the Dark as one of their sets. So the director's trying to get the perfect shot, and this one mannequin that's been in question is in the shot, but he's just not liking how it's looking with it in it. So he asked one of the crew members to move it. So this crew member goes over, and when he tries to move the mannequin, its arm falls off. Inside is human bone. It's actually a mummified body. The body belonged to Elmer McCurdy, who was dubbed the bandit who wouldn't give up. He was an outlaw who was robbing a train in Oklahoma in 1911 when he was taken out by the police. His body was on display at an Oklahoma funeral home, but ownership changed and he got shifted around and around and around until he finally ended up at the Pike Amusement, and everyone thought he was fake until he was finally positively ID'd in 1976.
This is why you should never
insane.
read someone else's diary. Once there was a girl named Samantha who took her friends to her dad's lake house because her dad grew up in the area and actually named the lake after her, Lake Samantha. But as soon as her friends arrived, they noticed something strange. There was a doll hanging on every door in all the houses in town. Samantha explained it's because of a local urban legend. Years ago, a man escaped from an insane asylum nearby, unalived his entire family, then disappeared. Since then, people would go missing around the same time every year, so the dolls were used for protection. But after spending a day by the lake, Samantha and her friends found an old diary, half buried in the dirt near an abandoned house. They opened it up and saw multiple entries dating back to the 80s. But the most terrifying part was the last entry dated August 13, 2010. And it said, "I'm so proud of my daughter. She doesn't hear the voices and she has a lot of friends. Sometimes I take her to these woods. I even named the lake after her." That's when they all heard the sound of twigs snapping behind them. And when they turned around, they saw Samantha's father, saying, "You weren't supposed to find that. Follow for more."
Records that will never be broken again. Number 1, the woman with the most children. Back in the 1800s, a Russian woman named Vasiliev gave birth to 69 total children.
God
she
damn.
had 16 pairs of twins, 7 triplets, and 4 quadruplets. And no one has come close to matching that number since. Number 2, the most nuclear explosions ever survived. This is Tsutomu Namaguchi. He has survived 2 different nuclear explosions. Tsutomu was on a business trip when the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. After miraculously surviving that explosion, he returned to his hometown of Nagasaki just in time to witness the second atomic bombing. But again, he miraculously survived and lived till the age of 93.
Do you know how lucky you have to be to survive 2 of those events in history? He had something on his side, because he survived 2 of them. That's insane. And those women who held those kids, I don't think that record's probably ever going to be broken. 69? What the hell?
Are the
creepiest YouTube channels to ever exist.
Talk about it.
Part 1. Number 1, Meat Sleep. Meat Sleep began posting in 2015 and has since then stopped posting, but that still doesn't change the fact that its horrifying videos and very disturbing history linked to the channel gives it a spot on this list. Meat Sleep then removed the several videos it had on the channel even after garnering over 16,000 subscribers, but that still doesn't change the fact that some people saw some very terrible things. Most of the channel consisted of videos that seemed to be of people being stalked, but there was one video in particular that people pointed out that really just got under their skin. There was one video on the channel titled Meat Pig, which in cannibals' terms is actually human meat. Many people believe that the creator behind these videos is secretly a murderer and a cannibal as well. I assume the creator of this channel is still unknown, but who knows, they may be in jail.
And they was posting on the YouTube and getting away with it? That was evidence right there. Man. Meat Sleep. First time hearing about that, man. Tap in with us, you're gonna learn. Just edit. Call him out.
Killed his mom over a bad grade. This is 15-year-old Gregory Ramos. And on November 2nd, 2018, Gregory Ramos got into a fight with his mother, Gail Clevenger. The fight started over his bad school grades, which resulted in him strangling his own mother to death. Gregory then proceeded to call 2 of his friends to help him bury her body and stage a robbery at his house. Gregory buried her body under a church fire pit and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Now, what I'm about to show you is Gregory explaining exactly how he committed the murder, and it's absolutely disturbing, because keep in mind, this was his own mother.
Whatever. Alright, I'll tell you what happened. Alright, so I got home, I got an argument with my mom, she slapped me across the face, she began to hit me, she started beating me, I didn't like it, so I strangled her to death. Alright? I put her in a wheelbarrow, I put her in my car, I took the car, I had a mental breakdown where I almost committed suicide 3 times, I drove around Daytona, I dropped the wheelbarrow in some random ass location, and I drove back to the church. I began to dig a hole. I dig a hole right under the fucking fire pit. I dug a pretty deep hole. Pretty deep. I think that's what I put about it.
No remorse.
All this time, my mom was decomposing body. I dragged it from my car to the fire pit. In which case, I tried to cut the wedding ring off her finger because I wanted to pawn it, but I couldn't, because I didn't have a knife strong enough to cut bones. Oh well, whatever. Anyways, so I dug that hole, threw her body in there, filled back in, made it look all nice and natural, dumped my clothes, and then I went home.
I'm being serious. If you ever see this at the beach, do not touch it. And if it ever latches onto you like this, get help immediately. Before you do anything else, favorite this video because this could actually save your life one day.
What
now,
is
at
that?
first glance, like me, you would think this is an alien creature from the deepest corners of hell. Whereas in fact, this is actually a detached octopus limb. Now yes, if an octopus's arm becomes disconnected from its body, it does have the ability to live on for a short period of time by itself, explaining why it's able to move like a creature straight out of an alien movie. This, of course, is absolutely horrifying and a brand new conversation to bring up with your therapist if you saw this going about its business on the beach. Now, the suction power of this single arm would be incredibly difficult to remove on your own, because if you didn't know, one suction cup from an octopus can hold up to 35 pounds. And I am talking Great British, and on top of that, hurts. Like, really badly! Now, this most likely wouldn't make this gentleman a Twitter hashtag. However, I wouldn't like to imagine if this was stuck on a more sensitive part of the body. Like the neck. So here's the best case scenario. You see it, you avoid it, you survive. I've said this to literally anyone you know because they might need this video one day.
In 2010.
That's crazy, bro. I didn't even know freaking an octopus, I guess arm or leg had that much freaking suction power, bro. So if you see it, follow his advice, turn away, bro. Don't try to attach that onto your body, man. We learned it.
And an avid caver named Jeff decided to go to Madagascar to explore a natural cave shaft he had discovered years earlier. He arrived in country. Jeff enters the cave when he notices something out of the corner of his eye, and he sees thousands of black widow spiders trying to escape the light. As much as Jeff wanted to stop right there and go right back up to the surface, he couldn't. He needed technical gear, and his technical gear was packed in his backpack, and so he would have to descend to the bottom, then take his pack off, get the gear out, and go back up. He began his slow, awful descent into this cave filled with spiders. He'd bump into the wall, he'd hear them scatter all over the walls, and then he saw them climbing on his sleeve, he saw them on the rope. He finally gets to the bottom, and he opens it up. Spiders crawl out of his bag, carefully reaches in and pulls out his technical gear, throws it up, and he begins making his way back up. Once he gets to the surface, the first thing he does is he strips all of his clothing off to get all the spiders off of his clothing. Luckily, he doesn't get band-aid. He takes his notebook out, and he scratches off the title he had given this cave from the last time he was here, which was the Crooked Tube. He scratches that out, and on top of it, he writes, "The entrance to hell."
Things we all believed as kids. For some reason, I thought that if I swallowed watermelon seeds, an entire tree would grow inside of me. Now at night, if you didn't start running to your room as soon as you turned off the lights, the monster that was somehow chasing you would catch you and eat you. A blanket could literally protect us from anything, and I would still argue that my blanket is a modern-day shield. My parents used to tell me if I crossed my eyes for long enough, my eyes would stay stuck that way forever.
Yep, those were like myths as the kids.
Things you can't unsee. The KFC logo looks like Colonel Sanders has a tiny body. Now I can never unsee it. Have you ever noticed that the letter G is simply a spinning arrow? Those drowning signs at the beach look very similar to LOL. There's nothing funny about drowning. The Dodge Viper logo looks like Daffy Duck upside down. Ever noticed how water fountain drains look like a Wi-Fi logo? This sign for a German school looks a bit suspicious. Did you know there's a bear hidden inside the Toblerone logo? Did you ever notice Nelson from The Simpsons is simply a young Barney? And in the 7-Eleven logo, only the N is in lowercase. The Hunger Games Mockingjay logo looks very similar to Johnny Bravo. And I bet you never realized the Big Bang Theory's Dexter's Laboratory grown up. Also, the collar on the Wendy's girl says Mom. Homer Simpson has MG sneaked onto him. These are the initials of Matt Groening, The Simpsons creator.
I never realized.
And finally, the Adidas logo kind of looks like a sinking ship.
Damn, all these hidden logos and stuff, bro. They were right in front of our eyes and we never even knew. It goes to make you think, man. What other logos have hidden messages behind it? The more you know. That's the edit. We're calling them out.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 1. The middle of nowhere is an actual place within New Mexico. The legend goes that an elderly couple lived out there with their dog and witnessed many strange and bizarre things. One night, they reported seeing a strange creature that they identified as a Skinwalker. After reporting this to the police, the family had vanished under strange circumstances. Their dog, however, was left behind. This is the story that Courage the Cowardly Dog was based off of. Like and follow for more.
Adult jokes in kids' cartoons you probably didn't notice.
Hey, Judy! Want a party with a real bug? Oh, lady, come like Papa. Yeah.
So, being a ladybug automatically makes me a girl. Is that it, flyboy? Huh?
Yikes! She's a god!
What would happen
What
if
the
you
heck?
don't have a shower for 60 years? This is the world's dirtiest man, and he was born in 1928 in Iran, and apparently he hasn't taken a shower in 60 years, because he says he's scared of water and he thinks having a shower could kill him. And because he hasn't showered for so long, his immune system has gotten used to his body being this dirty. But over the years, people from other town have challenged him to have a shower in exchange for money, and he still tells them that he's so scared of it. So they offered him even more money, so he took it. But a few days after taking a shower, he died, because apparently his immune system was not used to him being so clean, which caused his body to go into extreme shock and pain. And before he died, he described the pain as a sharp burning sensation. What do you think caused this?
He really passed away because he took a shower? One of the most bizarre cases we've seen yet, Seekers.
The bad guy.
Bermuda Triangle? If that's another one. Antarctica. We ain't going to those places, man. That's off the bucket list. There's this guy that's at it. Call him like we see it.
A time traveler just took a lie detector test and passed it. I'm about to share with you all of his predictions for the upcoming future. So quickly make sure to favorite this video so we can come back to it to see if he was right. Let's start off with August of 2028, where aliens are meant to land here on Earth.
Yes, it is true that aliens did land on Earth in August 2028.
In fact, he states that we already know about the existence of aliens before this, as it becomes public knowledge. What? Next up, in the year 2030, the world will be governed under one law. This actually isn't a bad one. All of Earth's countries converge into one super nation.
In 2030, all of the world's countries converge into one super nation.
Next up, he goes on to say he has a chip inside of him. In fact, all humans from 2045 have this. And it has a name. Watch this.
I do have an implanted chip in my hand known as the One.
He claims it'll be rolled out to the public in 2029. It's a good thing no one's working on this, right? But there's even more predictions, and as I said, he was on a lie detector machine, in which every single answer came out true. In fact, even the lie detector machine guy said that he answered very quickly and very confidently. So it leads me to ask you this, is it all real? Now do me a favor, send this to literally anyone you know, because your friends need to see this.
Like the video, man, so more people can see this. That time travel theory, bro. It's chilling. What the hell happened? That was some footage we showed. Was that the debate? The mayhem. Appreciate him bringing this down for us. Fill up a stadium? God damn.
Before and after animals growing up. This is what a baby white tiger looks like. They're born blind and only weigh 2 to 3 pounds, but they soon turn into this. Adult white tigers are ferocious and dangerous. They have a bite force of 1050 psi. To put that in perspective, a human's bite force is 162.
Damn.
They also grow razor-sharp teeth. This is what a baby Alaskan Malamute looks like. They're born with blue eyes and are tiny, fluffy, and cute. But when they grow up, they look like this. They become powerful and fierce, and their blue eyes change to brown, amber, or hazel. This is what a baby salamander looks like. They are tiny at only 2.5 centimeters in length, but when they grow older, they turn massive. Their skin turns thick and scaly. They also live for a very long time, sometimes 80 years or more. This is what a baby crocodile looks like. They're very cute and tiny at only 20 centimeters, but they're not so cute when they grow up. They become one of the most aggressive animals known to man, and can weigh a mind-blowing 2,200 pounds. This is what a baby pit bull looks like. They're very cute with oversized eyes and ears. But when they get older, they become very muscular.
Damn.
If not raised well, these can be very dangerous, which is why pit bulls are banned in over 10 countries.
What you're about to see is intense. What you just saw is the United States Coast Guard raiding a high-speed submarine in the Eastern Pacific Ocean moving more than 17,000 pounds of cocaine. On June 18th, 2019, a Coast Guard surveillance aircraft tracked and intercepted the drug-filled narco sub hundreds of miles off the Colombian-Ecuadorian coastline. The video shows a member of the Coast Guard riding on top of the speeding submarine.
Oh, what the hell?
He then starts pounding on the hatch and demanding it to come to a stop. 3 other Coast Guard members then jump ship and board the 40-foot-long submarine. The video then continues, and you see the presumed trafficker emerging from the submarine hatch with his hands up, surrendering. And in total, 5 alleged smugglers were seized on board the vessel and were handed over for prosecution by the United States Drug Enforcement Administration.
Are these your friends, the police?
Now, just watch the full encounter unfold. It's honestly something straight out of a video game.
Okay. Did he have to like jump onto the sub?
That's gonna be hard to get on.
Is he speaking like another language too? Oh yeah, he definitely jumped. This is something like out of a movie scene. Whew.
Job? These criminals survive long enough to have that justice served.
That was like out of a movie scene. Serious. Where's the? There's another edit.
These are the world's most haunted dolls.
Okay.
At number 4.
Letter the doll. Dolls be creeping me out. I ain't a fan, man. Okay. That one looks even more freaking. Okay. Here we go. And about yeah, they didn't make. Yeah, I'm gonna say they made movies about that. Hell no, I'm not even risking that. Nah, I'm good. Robert. Nah. Dress up like a little boy. Cursed energy, bro. I can feel it through the screen. Can be writing letters to it too. No. You can't even take a video of it. Stay away
According to
from
every
those
major
dolls.
country, they decided that these are the top 21 most hated foods in the world. Coming in at number 21 is Brussels sprouts. According
Really?
to science, we're born to innately reject bitter foods. I couldn't agree more. At number 20 is cantaloupe. I don't agree with this at all. I love cantaloupe. Do I like it as much as watermelon, dragon fruit? No, but it definitely should not be on this list. At number 19 is pickles. I personally love pickles, but a lot of people voted them on the list because they're obnoxious shape. Also, people don't like their sour smell and annoying crunch. At number 18 is black licorice. Definitely.
Yep.
Compared to red licorice or other candy, yeah, it needs to be on that list. At number 17, you guessed it, canned tuna. Tuna salad was actually labeled as Atlanta, Georgia's #1 most hated food. At number 16 is candy corn.
Candy corn.
I love it so much, I do not understand that. At number 15 is Spam. I just don't understand the hype behind the canned meat. At number 14 is mayonnaise. I actually have a traumatic childhood experience with mayonnaise, so I would put this at number 1 on my list. At number 13 is ginger, based off of its smell. I actually love ginger, and when I'm sick, I make a hot honey lemon ginger tea. It's the way to go. At number 12 is liver. Do I even need to say more?
Yeah, no.
At number 11 is pineapple pizza. If you're somebody that likes pineapple on your pizza, jail.
Not me.
Just go. Jail. Now for the top 10, bologna. I used to love bologna as a kid, and then I had it like 20,000 times. I haven't had it in like literally 25 years. Number 9 is circus peanuts. Totally disagree with that. I love these things so much. Number 8 is eggplants. Doesn't taste like eggs at all and super bitter. Definitely should be on the list. Number 7 is bitter gourd. I've personally never had it before, but I guess it has good medicinal traits. It was voted as one of the most hated foods in China.
Okay.
Number 6 is the durian fruit. Supposedly it doesn't taste bad, but the smell is absolutely awful. And for our top 5 comes tomatoes.
Tomatoes?
I've tried so hard to like tomatoes, the different textures, I just can't get with it. Number 4 is mushrooms. This one blew me away because I love mushrooms on pizza, by themselves, as a meat substitute, but I guess the rest of the world doesn't think so. Number 3 is cilantro. Now there's actually a genetic reason behind this. If you ask a room of 100 people if they like cilantro, 14% of them will say it tastes like soap. At number 2 is olives. A lot of people think they have a very bitter, distinct flavor, and some people say they're an acquired taste. And at number 1 on the list, you guessed it, beets.
Beets?
33% of the world said they hated beets because of their earthy flavor. Let me know in the comments which food is your least favorite and which ones you thought should have been on the list.
A lot of people were using bath salts as a drug to get high. Basically, the bath salt would make you hallucinate. So in 2009 in Miami, Florida, Rudy Eugene was apparently high on bath salts. He walked into a busy crowd, took off all his clothes, then walked over to where a homeless man was staying, Ronald Popo, 65 years old at the time, and started eating his face off. Yes, eating his face, his nose, his eyes, his mouth. He even tried taking off all his clothes. When witnesses saw what happened, they called police, and police got over 5 calls of this. When police showed up, they told Rudy to stop doing what he was doing, and apparently Rudy was growling at them. He said it was like he didn't understand what they were saying. And that went on for 18 minutes before they decided to shoot him dead. And look how this poor man turned out after. That's a horrible crime.
Imagine you break it.
Man, that's why I always stay away from stuff like that, Seekers, man, because you take something like that, man, it can literally change you. It can literally turn you into a damn, like, demon, bro. So what he did to his face... And like they said, when the police came, niggas, like they said, he couldn't even understand what they were saying. He was just like all delirious or something. I'm just like, just stay away from that in general, Seekers. It's my best advice to you guys. It's a crazy ass story.
Into your ex-lover's house and brutally murder his new wife in a fit of jealous rage. You also happen to be a young police officer at the time, and you stage the crime scene to look like a robbery, and that's just what police deem it at the time. And over the next 23 years, you work your way up the police department and become a detective that specializes in stolen art cases, which apparently the issue of stolen art rampant enough to require its own special unit. Now, over the span of time that you got on with your life and swept that murder under the rug, DNA testing got real good, and your Van Gogh sniffing ass is about to have that nice cushy lifestyle turned right the upside down. In 2009, police just decided, hey,
let's test the bite mark left on Sherry Rasmussen's arm. The DNA came back as female. They were like, female burglars? That's not a thing. They decided to pursue the theory that the Rasmussens had suspected the whole time that Stephanie Lazarus was the killer. So the cops just went into the office, pulled a discarded cup out of the garbage that Stephanie was drinking. When they swabbed it, it was a perfect match. Stephanie's own colleagues brought her in for questioning, and that's where shit gets spicy. 23 years after Stephanie Lazarus murdered Sherry Rasmussen, the wife of a man that Stephanie used to date, she's brought in for questioning. Sherry and her husband John's families had long suspected that Stephanie was the killer, even though cops suspected it was a robbery. They had even told police that Stephanie would stalk John and Sherry and go by their house and even Sherry's place of work, telling Sherry that if she couldn't have John, then no one could. Police now had the DNA evidence to prove that Stephanie was the person who broke in, smashed a vase over Sherry's head, brutally beat her in the face with the butt of her gun, left a bite mark on her arm, and shot her 3 times. Police just went up to Stephanie in the office one day and were just like, hey, this'll just take a second. We just want to talk to you about a stolen art case. They weren't there to talk about no art. They were like, hey, did you know somebody named John Rutten? What went down next is one of the most enjoyable dismantlings of someone's aura of invincibility that you could ever hope to see. And as they suck her back into that time period, the screws that held Stephanie's face in a normal-looking position for 23 years start to loosen. Best part is they tell her she's free to go, and she goes out into the hallway, and they handcuff her and arrest her right there.
You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand?
Yes. Hi, I'm Cameron.
Goes to show you, man, whatever negative or energy or something you put out in the universe, you did something that bad and horrifying, you think you got away with it, it's gonna come around and get you, man. And it might take a month, it could take a couple of days, it might take years, but at the end of the day, it's gonna come back, man. The thing is, like, she got away with that for that many years, bro, but she left so much evidence. And she was like one of the suspects, and they just didn't even care to look at her. She thought she was probably going to get away with it too. No, the energy you put out is going to come back.
This is woman murder. May of 1999, a 14-year-old girl made her way to a Hong Kong police station. Officers, she was being haunted by the ghost of a woman who had been bound by electrical wire and tortured to death. They brushed her off until she explained that she had a hand in her murder. They followed her back to her flat and found this. Oversized Hello Kitty doll with a decapitated skull of a woman inside it. The head of Fan Man Yi. Fan's life was tragic before this event took place. After being abandoned by her family as a child, she was raised in a girls' home. She developed a drug addiction and was turning to prostitution to pay for her drug habit. In early 1997, Fan met Chan Man Lok, a 34-year-old pimp and drug dealer. Later in 1997, desperate for money and drugs, Fan Man Yi stole Man Lok's wallet and attempted to make off with $4,000. As soon as he saw it was gone, he had 2 other men kidnap her. Earning the money back wasn't enough for them. He began torturing her for over a month. Tied her up and beat her, burned her skin, raped her, and forced her to eat human feces. When she died, they cut up her body in a bathtub with a saw. The 14-year-old girl participated in the murder but was granted immunity for giving the details. The 3 were sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole.
She was that young and she participated in it. What does the world come to, man?
Hey guys, I'm back. So let me tell you in 60 seconds why these 2 chicks are serious sociopaths.
Okay.
On July 5th, 2012, Skylar Yee's 16-year-old girl snuck out of her house. The next morning, her dad went into her room and realized she never came home. Skylar's best friend Sheila comes to the house and tells her parents they snuck out to smoke some weed, but she dropped her off shortly before midnight. She also says their friend Rachel was with them. She then helps her parents search the neighborhood. The entire community begins searching for Skylar. After 2 months, Skylar still isn't found and the FBI gets involved. And they start questioning her schoolmates and her friends. The friend Rachel, who was with them that night, has a panic attack. She goes to police and confesses everything. She tells police that she and Sheila had planned Skylar's murder for literally months.
Whoa.
They convinced her to sneak out that night, and then they stabbed her over 50 times. They had 0 remorse, and posted things like this on social. I mean, are you even serious?
Dedication right there goes to show, man, how your friends, sometimes they truly aren't your friends, bro. You saw all the listening reasons. Like, they planned the whole thing, and they're so young, man. What is it up with these young people we keep seeing? It's like participating in these things. You have to be better, man. The whole world. That's insane.
The lie this woman told will make you sick.
Her name is Alicia Head, and she claimed to have been a survivor of the World Trade Center attack in 2001.
Come on,
she
man.
claimed she had narrowly survived the collapse of the South Tower, whilst her fiancé had perished in the North Tower. She would then go on to become president of the World Trade Center's Survivors Network Support Group. She would help get grants for other fellow survivors. But there was one big problem with all of this. Alicia was never at the World Trade Centers. She was exposed for having been at university in the native city of Barcelona. After being exposed, Alicia fled New York. For more 7 scenes, remember to hit the plus button.
How did they even get that far?
True Swine, where I tell you how true crime has made me hate the cops even more. You don't need to know my name, it's not important, but you do need to know the name Jacob Wetterling. Jacob Wetterling went missing on October 22nd, 1989 when he was 11 years old. He and his friends were on the way to the store and they got approached by a man in a mask and he was abducted. The police didn't interview neighbors or witnesses for at least a few days afterwards, which is critical in a missing children's case. The children who were with Jacob when he went missing, their statements were discounted completely by the police because they were children. Instead of doing actual investigating, they spent the budget on mediums and psychics to see if they could find where Jacob was. His case garnered national coverage. His mom, Patty, and her activism is the reason why we have the sex offender registry as we know it. After harassing the man who owned the property where Jacob went missing for decades, this man came forward and admitted it. This predator's name is Danny James Heinrich. He had previous offenses against children in 87, 88, and in January of the same year that Jacob Wetterling went missing. The cops even had his DNA and he was a suspect in the Jacob Wetterling case, but he was written off for some reason. In 2016, he was arrested on child porn charges. As part of his plea bargain, he admitted murdering Jacob.
This fried chicken salesman almost caught one of the biggest serial killers in history by making a movie about him.
What?
This is the story of Tom Hansen, Zodiac Killer Hunter. In the early 1970s, the biggest story in the country was about how the Zodiac Killer, a hooded serial killer terrorizing the Bay Area in California, had murdered 5 confirmed victims. Despite the fact that the Zodiac had left several clues about his identity, police couldn't catch him. However, Tom Hansen, a businessman in San Francisco who owned several chains of fried chicken and pizza fast food restaurants, had an idea. The way he figured it, the Zodiac Killer was so full of himself that if somebody made a movie about him and did a fancy premiere for it, the real killer wouldn't be able to resist coming to the theater to see it. He planned to make the world's first movie about the Zodiac Killer so he could lure the real Zodiac Killer into a movie theater and then capture him. Hansen shot the movie in a couple of weeks in 1971 on a $13,000 budget. He couldn't get any studios to buy the film, so he paid to have the movie screened at the RKO Theater in San Francisco by himself. So did the plan work? And was the movie any good? There's still a lot more to the story, so like and follow for part 2.
Unsolved distraction.
Wow. Like a science citizen, man, actually was trying to do something, bro. I gotta figure out, we're gonna have to try to find a part 2 to see if that actually worked. If you think about it, it was a good idea. I wonder if it actually like drew him out. He made a whole movie about it, and I didn't want none of the studios want to pick it up, man. That's what good cause trying to lure him out, and none of the studios did. He put the Thanos, fine, I'll do it myself. What the hell? Comment down below if you guys want me to find part 2 to that.
Australian crimes, this is about the Trump family, and strange doesn't even begin to describe this. Okay, so this is the Trump family. And on the 30th of August in 2016, police arrived at their home. No one was there, the doors were unlocked, one car was missing, all the other cars had the keys in the ignition. All their passports, phones and bank cards were still inside on the table with a pile of financial and business information. But by now the Trumps were hundreds of kilometers away. So Mark Trump, who was 51, Jacoba Trump, who was 53, Brianna Trump, who was 29, and Alla and Mitchell Trump, who were 22 and 25. And over the next 5 days, they were all located across New South Wales and Victoria. So for some reason, Mitch abandoned them all and started heading home. The 2 sisters stole a car and then went their separate ways. Then one sister snuck into the back of a truck and was found in a catatonic-like state. Jacoba was found in Yass and admitted to hospital. Mark was found in Wangaratta. And to this day, nobody knows why they did it or what happened. Hey guys, so a few similar comments about wanting a part 2 on theories about what happened to the Trump family. So I'm going to go through the most popular ones now. So there was a popular theory that because they owned a cherry farm, that people believed maybe the pesticides or chemicals they were using on the farm caused them all to fall mentally ill. Also widely believed that they shared a psychotic experience. There is a French name for the term, which I'm not sure how to pronounce, I'll put it up here, but refers to madness of two, which can sometimes happen in close-knit families or groups. That's another theory. There's another theory that it was a money hoax to make money from media deals. There's theories that there was no psychosis and that there was someone actually out to get the family. Some people believe it's also to do with aliens. I even read a theory about eating moldy bread, which can cause psychotic episodes. I think it was shared psychosis and not just the father. The sisters were acting strangely, so was the mother, so
Hi, I'm Cam, and this is...
The Trump family. That wasn't the family I was expecting. Like, you know, when we heard that name, the Trump family, used to go a whole completely different family. But look what happened to them. All those theories about what they all went different separate places. What theories do you guys believe, man? I guess I'm going with what he said, the psychosis. What happened to him? But the Trump family, though. That's really, really, like, odd and eerie, bro. You know.
This is 1 minute murder. Kim Edwards was what seemed like a regular 14-year-old girl. She lived with her mother Elizabeth and younger sister Katie in Lincolnshire, England. Kim's mother hid Elizabeth during an argument, but immediately called social services on herself. Kim and her younger sister were taken away temporarily. However, after they returned, Kim and her mother's relationship began to dissolve further. Meanwhile, Elizabeth and Katie grew extremely close. Kim was very jealous of this. At one point, Kim left a suicide note. Elizabeth discovered it and brought her daughter to a psychiatrist so she could get the help she needed. The psychiatrist found no signs of mental illness. Things grew worse when Kim started dating Lucas Markham, who she met while he threw a desk across the room in a rage at school. Elizabeth banned her daughter from seeing him. Lucas's solution was to kill her mother. On April 13th, 2016 at midnight, Lucas walked into the Edwards home and stabbed Elizabeth in the neck. He suffocated her with a pillow while continuing to stab her to death. Kim had planned on killing her little sister as well, but panicked and couldn't do it, so she told Lucas to. He killed the 13-year-old Katie the same way he killed her mother. After the killings, the couple washed off, had sex, ate ice cream, and watched Twilight. Mates broke in and said, "What's going on?" Lucas said, "Why don't you go and have a look?"
58% of convicted murderers are men, which, like, that. But then when you really think about it, it's like, why? Women have way more reason to murder. Most people would say, well, it's just because men are more murdery. But I think something else is going on. I think women are murdering all over the ding-dang place, but we're just not getting caught, because we're better at it, like we are most things. First of all, bitches are stealthy. We're hiding blood all the time anyway. Because of our periods. Second of all, no one suspects us. Who? Me? I'm too busy doing my makeup and being confused by math to do a murder. Can we just make it look like a cute little accident, and then we plan a gorgeous wig, and then we move on with our lives, and we look fabulous doing it? Okay then, Caitlin, so if women are doing all these murders, where are all these missing dead men? You think they're missed? That's hilarious. They're not.
This is one of the...
Whoa. Well, she just put on my mind, man. It's starting to make me question, like, who gets away with it more, do you guys think? Man or woman when it comes to, I guess, things of that nature? She said women do it because they are more smarter and not trying to get caught by doing things like that. That's something to think about, man. Something to leave your mind to ponder about.
The UK's oldest unsolved murders. In 1866, in Perthshire, Scotland, 55-year-old Janet Rogers was found dead. In March 1866, Janet Rogers came to her brother's house on Mount Stewart Farm. She was there to help her brother William while he looked for a new housemaid. 3 days later, Mr. Henderson found his sister dead on the floor of his farmhouse kitchen. She had been clubbed to death with an axe. The police put out a £100 reward to find the killer. That's almost £12,000 in today's currency. This worked at attracting publicity to the case, but it may have hindered police efforts as floods of reports came in. The police eventually charged the previous ploughman of the farm, James Crichton, with Mrs. Rogers' murder. However, after a 2-day trial, the jury returned with a verdict of not proven, which basically means there wasn't enough evidence. The murder had a lasting effect on Janet's brother William. Descending into insanity, he was committed to a mental asylum where he spent the rest of his days.
Crazy, man.
That's a shapeshifter. Story time. Growing up in Haiti, or anyone who has Haitian parents can tell you that there is such a thing as shapeshifters, lugauts in Haiti. And that is the reason why they also tell you whenever you hear a cat sounding like that outside your house at a certain time at night, you should not go outside to go see what's wrong with the cat, because usually it's not a cat, and you will not live to see or tell the story of what you would witness. So I remember one time we were all in the house. It was late, very, very late. Usually we will stay up even though we cannot be outside at a certain time. If you go to Haiti, you should always listen to the locals when they tell you do not go at a certain area, to a certain area, or at a certain time go outside. Because trust me, you won't make it back in the house. And I'm not even over exaggerating. But anyway, so we were all in the house. We were young, but there was a bunch of grown-ups in the house also. Everybody's sleeping, and we were all waking up by this big boom that was on top of the house. And in Haitian houses in Haiti, they actually don't have like real like roof like we have here, but they have like metals. So any little thing you can hear it. Even if the rain, we usually were able to fall asleep with the rain sound because it's just so loud and it's so soothing and all that stuff. But when the nightmare starts, trust me, you will hear every single thing. So we're sleeping and we're all waking up at this boom. Even the children, you know how children can sleep real well, right? They sleep through everything. We all were waking up. But the grown-ups already know because they're so used to it. And also we know a well-known luau in the town that everybody can respect because we know how powerful she is. And a lot of people have been taken out by her, but they can never prove that it was her until one day. So anyways, we're all sleeping and we're waking up by this sound, and we just hear footsteps on top of the house just walking as if like it's like, you know, grains falling in the house, but it's like real loud footsteps just walking, and all the adults just start praying, and the children were just scared because we're so used to hearing stories about that happening, and eventually it happened to us. So we're like scared, and the adults are praying, even though like voodoo is a religion in Haiti, they still pray. A lot of people pray but still practice voodoo because that's really our religion. Just like the Catholic people, they also practice voodoo, but also they tell you that it's bad. Anyways, so they're praying. The children are trying to figure out what's going on. While the baby, my aunt had a baby that was just a few weeks old, not even a month, a few weeks old. The baby just kept crying non-stop. And they usually, whenever they come in on top of your house, they're coming for the baby, not children who are a certain age. They're coming for the innocent, right? So the baby's crying. The people are praying, so there's a lot going on, and the noise on top and everything. All of a sudden, the noise stopped, but we hear a cat right by the door, literally right at the door, right? This cat just sounded like a baby. It's literally almost matching the sound of the baby that's crying. The cat sounded like a baby, scratching at the door, making noises, scratching at the door, making noise, and that's when the prayers started louder and louder. And eventually the children fell asleep because the cat just kept going. I fell asleep because I was young at the time. Then eventually we heard the story the next day, but then what really made us believe it is what we saw the next day, what we experienced the next day. So we fell asleep. The adults, I guess, continued to do whatever they were doing. The next day we wake up to the horror of everything. The baby that was crying was basically covered in ants, covered head to toe, ants eating the baby's skin, everything. I mean, I should have given you guys a warning. Eating everything. But of course, you know, everything is still intact, but the skin is ant mark, bite marks from the ants. Baby, gone. Pass. Don't know why, don't know how, but the baby's gone. What happened last night happened. Next morning, wake up, baby's gone. And that was the first child that my aunt lost. And then finally after that, she just kept losing children up until 7 kids. She lost 7 kids until she actually stopped having kids. Every time one passed, she has another one. Every time one passed, I'm like, as someone who has common sense, you would think, okay, I'll stop after maybe the 3rd or 4th one. Well, she just kept having children. Eventually, she decided, okay, well, I'm not going to have any more kids if I'm going to keep losing them. But when she had her first son, which is the oldest child, that child survived because she didn't live in the house. She didn't live in that town when she had that child, so that child survived. But eventually, she lost her life to the same thing. And also, I lost my godmom to the same thing. I have a story for that. Also, my older sister who lives right now in the United States, we almost lost her to a neighbor who was practicing brujeria, voodoo. Very good person, good people, but it was a mistake that happened, and we were able to figure it all out. If you guys want to hear about that story, I will tell you. But my mom even sent money for us to buy like coffin for her, preparing for her funeral and everything. Now she's a nurse. Anyway, guys, bye.
Whoa. I mean, that's a shocking story, Seekers. Like I said, we heard that cat sounding like, it definitely was sounding like a person, man. She broke it down for us. What do you guys think, man? We've seen like Skinwalkers before, but they said this is shapeshifter, so are they like different things? 2 separate things? Talk about it down below.
Story time on the time that I saw my neighbor who had already passed away going to go get water while I was on my way back from getting water to go to the house. And when I got to the house, I found out that she had passed away that morning, and I didn't even know that. So, so this was kind of crazy. I'm laughing because I couldn't sleep for a good month and a half after all this happened, right? So I told the story during Halloween a couple years ago on YouTube, and the feedback was crazy. So I figured I'll just bring it back since TikTok people don't know about it. So going back to Haiti, I was very, very young. We had this neighbor that used to sell those things that you will light up at night if you have mosquitoes. They shake like a snake. I don't know what they're called. Maybe if you know, let me know in the comment below. But she used to sell those things, and one day she just felt sick. Very, very sick. We just never saw her. We will go to her. So every time we order, this person will come to the door and give us what we need. But Sister Mary, which is the lady who always gives us the things that we need, just hadn't been showing up. But as a child, I'm like, okay, well, it's her house. Maybe she's either in the house, don't want to come out, or she went to the next town over to go visit her family. And hey, that's a normal thing. You can just go visit your family for like 6 months and then come back, right?
Okay.
So eventually my aunt came and told us that Sister Mary, that was her name, is not feeling well. She's at home, but she's just not feeling well. As children, we just let it go. Okay, well, Sister Mary's sick, whatever. Well, one day, I was sent to get water. It was my turn to go get water. So the way to go get water is basically, it's like 15 minutes away, but you do carry the water, and we take turn in the house as children. They sent different people different days, right? So this one particular day, it was early in the morning, they sent me to go get water. I'd say maybe, well, not really early, it was summertime. I'd say around like 10, 11. They sent me to go get water. I went to go collect water.
Right.
And as I was coming back from collecting water, I'm walking down. It's a 15-minute walk. I'm carrying the thing on top of my head. I'm walking down, and I saw someone who looks like Sister Mary. And my aunt was saying how frail she was. She's losing a lot of weight, blah, blah, blah. But when I saw this person, she looked just like I remember Sister Mary to be, like how she was before, you know, thick. You know, she wasn't like fat, but she was thick. You know, she looked fine. She looked normal. She didn't look sick. So I saw her. I said hello to her. We're talking. And, you know, I told her, we haven't seen you. We heard that you were sick. Yeah, so we heard that you were sick. How are things doing? You look like you're doing much better now. And she answered me like normal, like someone she knows, right?
Okay.
So I just went on about my business. I told her, have a good day. She told me she was going to go collect water, and she had the bucket in her hand and everything. So I told her, have a good day, and I continued on my merry way. So I ended up going home that day, and I told my sister, I'm like, yo, you will never guess who I just saw at the water thing, right? So I told her a whole story about this lady that I just saw, and we know her because she's our neighbor. So I'm like, yeah, I saw her. You know, she looked good. I don't know what Aunt was talking about because she doesn't look sick. Her eyes literally opened up as if she just saw a ghost. I'm like, what's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that?
Okay.
She says, oh, nothing. So I'm like, okay. I just went about my day and continued doing whatever I was doing until a few minutes later, I hear people screaming and yelling. Well, the news have been spreading in the whole town that Sister Mary has passed away. I'm looking at my sister and I'm thinking, what the fuck? What do you mean Sister Mary passed away? I just saw Sister Mary. What do you mean? And she looked fine.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's yelling. Nobody's telling me what's going on. And then finally, my sister told me, oh, yeah, Sister Mary died this morning. I'm like, there's no way. How could Sister Mary die this morning? I just told you I saw her this morning. She's like, well, that's the crazy thing because you're telling me you just saw her and Sister Mary died before you went to go collect water.
Ghost confirmed? Spirit?
From there on, I kid you not, I could not speak. I could not move. Everything was crazy.
Here we go.
Man, what do you guys think about that story? Was that like a ghost or she communicating with spirit or something? Like, imagine she was talking to a person, but they already passed, so who is she talking to?
Virginia teen
Insane.
dies after she tried to summon the Haitian Voodoo god, Papa Legua. So Love decided to dabble in the darker voodoo arts, but she ain't got no knowledge of how this thing really go. That's why you gotta watch when you practicing something without having a self-evaluation journey that you've been on, you heard me? I don't know why you thought summoning an African-descendant god will help you. Papa in Haiti is known as the Great Executioner. and it said that he could speak many different languages and persuade people at his will. And once again, he resides at the spiritual crossroads. So let me give y'all some people some insight every time you face with a difficult decision you gotta make. Rather that being life or death decisions or career-based decisions. Quit thinking about calling on some deity gonna point you in the right direction if you haven't done the self-work. Because you could get fooled by a spirit that you might think is holy and lovely for a spirit that's there to take over your will. So she gets in a Facebook group and start telling the people that she's about to start doing new spell work and ain't nothing wrong with trying new things. Alright. And I quote, let people have their own religion. So she started telling people, stop saying I'm from God or you can be from God. I'm wicked and I always will be. So shut the F up and let me do what I want to do. Alright, now Wiccan means a religion influenced by pre-Christian beliefs and the practices of Western Europe that affirms the supernatural powers. It's a form of paganism, and this has nothing to do with voodoo practices. So now I guess her ex wants to get into it and had a fallout. So she get on Facebook talking about she about to go put her ex on her ex-girlfriend. Now mind you, her ex-girlfriend is African American. Let me give you a little quick insight on when to put spells on people or hex work on people. And it kind of taught you that on Vampire Diaries with Bonnie. Now remember when she spoke with her ancestors and her ancestors told her, if you keep drawing power from your ancestors, it's going to be a blowback to that. Which is why when Bonnie would use her powers, her nose would start bleeding. Because whatever you take from nature, you must replenish back. Which is called the circle of life, baby. Now here's an example up here where somebody also was trying to use that voodoo stuff and it fired back on them. I prayed for lots of money even though I had money. I was greedy and I stopped my voodoo sacrifices. I was punished by losing my leg in an accident. I'm getting money which is worthless to me. I'd rather have my legs back. The woman I wanted to marry left me because of my leg. I lost my promising career and I had to totally change my college studies for a degree that was worthless to me. All because I messed with the spirits. And you keep on playing and not listening, you're gonna learn the hard way, baby. So back to Kate. So now we get a picture where she tried to make a voodoo doll that looked like her. Got the girl hair twisted like dreads. We don't know what petition she wrote. We don't know if she had needles in the doll. She might have even had her real hair samples in the damn doll, you hear me? Now I want to know, baby, what in your right mind think that you can call on an African deity to do some harm to an African person and you are a European woman? In what world do you think that makes sense, baby? Like, come on now, love. And then people tried to warn you before doing this. They told you not to go along with this. They told you not to move forward with this. Practicing other people's African spirituality when you're not African is dangerous. So now I start getting right. You saw Papa Lego today, huh? You thought you saw him. And that's the problem. You're getting indulged in something where you never was initiated inside the culture, mama. You gotta think, man. Nah, Kayla was a beautiful woman, had a beautiful soul. She done a lot for her community. She was a stand-up woman. She just got involved in some things without the proper knowledge that led to some bad outcome. Nah, so Caitlin eventually died in a bathtub, and she left behind a beautiful daughter named Aaliyah. Which is very sad, baby. She adored her daughter greatly. Just for her daughter to have to go through that, prayers and condolences to her family. Now later on, a few spiritual leaders did a reading on the woman and noticed that she wasn't summoning Papa Legua, but Barun. And because of shows like American Horror Story, where they gave you a mixture of Barun and Papa Legua, they had you thinking that he was Papa Legua, but Papa Legua on American Horror Story, that was actually depicted as Barun.
What do you guys think of that story, man? He broke it down. All the way down, man. He went more definite on that story.
Good morning. It's 9:34 in the morning, so it's time for another story. And this time the story is being recorded late because I spent my entire morning talking about the anguish of what it means to be a black woman in America. So today calls for a feel-good story, and I'm going to tell you the most popular folktale in Haiti. That's right. Okay. It's The Little Mermaid, but darker. This most likely will be divided in 3 parts or 4 because I'm taking a lot of time to talk about. But just so you understand, the majority of the time the story is being told, the protagonist is a fish. But usually as you grow up, it makes more sense that the protagonist is a mermaid or a merman. Most of the time the protagonist is male because the leading romance protagonist, the second one, is a woman who goes to the water. She's a little girl. But at times you will find that the protagonist is a mermaid, you know, a woman, because the leading person that's going to be the love interest is a little boy. All right, let's get started. The Little Mermaid with a Haitian epice. Also, a lot of Haitians believe in mermaids. So there was a young girl, and we're going to call her Rose, who had a brother named Richard, a younger brother. Every morning they would go to the spring to get water to do their daily chores. Whether that's cooking, cleaning, whatever they needed the water for, they would go to the river to get it. One morning, Rose heads to the river by herself, and as she's getting some water, she has a ring, a silver ring on her, one of her fingers, obviously, and it slips down and it falls in the stream. Now, she was really fond of this ring, so obviously she's really sad. She's like, oh my god, I lost my ring, wah. And then as she's like frantically looking for it, out pops the head. And in this story, I'm going to make him a mermaid. So out pops a little head. And so as the head goes up, she realizes it's a fish. It's a man, but it's a fish. And the fish spits up her ring. So she takes the ring and she thanks the fish. And the fish, shockingly to her, speaks. The fish says, hi, I'm Tezin. And she says, hi, I'm Rose. Tezin says, this is my water. This is my spring. If you want water, like clean water, because your water is clean, but I know where the real good shit is. If you want better water, you could just holler at me and I'll go get it for you. And she goes, oh, thank you. But how do I holler at you? And so he teaches her this little song. And so he goes, if you ever need to reach me, sing this song. Tezin, tezin, mon ami, tezin. Tezin, tezin, mon ami, tezin. You get it? It literally translates to tezin, tezin, my friend, tezin. But in the book, she has it written in a more like, I don't know. She has it written how she wants. But that's how I remember the song.
So, this happened in Miami. And yeah, I still live in Miami. I was like around 6 or 7. This was like back in 2000, I think 2006, I believe. So, we used to stay in this building. And in the building, it used to be full of Haitians, full of Haitians. If you're Haitian and you know what's a lugawu, then you know what I mean. So, it was one night, it was me and my brother, we was in the room, we was sleeping, my mama and my dad was in their room. Okay. So it was like 2, I would say like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We sleeping, we little kids, we sleeping, blah, blah. Then randomly something happened. Bruh, something told us to get up. We woke up, literally, me and him woke up. And I swear, bruh, this lugawu lady, bruh, we've been having problems with for the longest. She was in our room. Like, she was literally in our room, bruh. Like, literally in our room. Staring at us. And we was on the wall. We, like, the TV right here and the wall right there. And we were stuck on the wall. We don't know what to do. But she was mostly coming from my little brother. Because, my little Lugawus, they like young kids. If they see a beautiful young child, they're going to take them. So, as a big brother, I was not going to let that shit happen. So I fought her. You feel me? I'm getting right with her a little bit. She low-key beat me up. But, I'm getting right with her a little bit. Give her a quick soklo and everything. Damn punch me in my rib. To this day, like, if I'm running so fast, my right hip will start hurting like crazy. So we fight, boom, boom, boom. My little brother, he yelling. Then I start yelling. Then my mom came, burst in the room. Then she just disappeared, like boom. So my mom was like, okay, my point. A couple days later, man, my auntie, my mom, even my dad, my uncle, they all went after that lady. They whooped that lady out. They banged on the door. They did everything it takes. To this day, bro, that shit still scarred the fuck out of me. But it's part of being a Haitian, that's what most Haitians go through in life. Most. I can't say all, but most. You feel me? But yes, Lugawus, these vampires in Haiti, that's called Lugawus, they are real. They are real. If you're from Haiti, you know what I mean. Like, even American kids, Haitian American kids, y'all know what I mean about Lugawus, bro. This shit real. It's real. Like, it's really real. It's not American vampires.
Damn, before the vampire 7? Like I said, we're checking out a different side of TikTok, so these stories, man, freaking shocking me, bro. Breaking down the culture. But at 7, he had to fight off to protect his brother, and he did it too. Pops to him, man.
I have been like damn near harassing me for these.
Lugos again.
Creepy story time.
Trying to get at
it all
him.
happened in Haiti. My mom was throwing a party, like a little get together, and everyone was having fun, but it was getting late, so everybody had to go home. After they went home, my mom heard a big sound coming from outside. It sounded like this. Yeah, like a cow. So she went outside to check. She saw a huge cow, the size of the road. No, literally, the size of the road.
What the hell was it doing?
They know exactly why they're scared, but you might not, so let me tell you. Make it a long story short, nobody with that much money is just gonna be handing it around. So, it must be juju money. They're not falling for that. But this is not the point of this video. I wanted to make this video to tell you that it is the month of December. Quite possibly the worst month of the year for the normal citizens, but the best month of the year for people doing witchcraft. My grandma always told me the month of December is the devil's month. Yeah.
Really?
The devil goes hard on this month of December because it is the last month of the year. So he needs to put in as much work as possible. So my number one advice to you would be, do not, absolutely not, pick up any type of law from the floor. Yapron, they will get you. And be kind. It goes a very long way.
I know that about the month of December now. Better start paying attention.
Yes, in Haiti, please mind your business. Story time. This one is brought to you by my uncle. This is a Lugao story, so things might get a little weird, but bear with me. So this lady, we're gonna call her Katya, okay? She is a SW. If you don't know what a SW is, just look it up. But that night, she was out on the street, running the streets, you know, trying to sell some puss. She was standing out there all day. She ain't had no customers. So it's getting late and she's like, you know what, maybe I should leave. But right at the moment that she's thinking that she's gonna leave, this guy in this rich, expensive car pulls up. And for that time, for somebody to have a car like that, that meant that that person had money, okay? It meant that that person meant business. So the car rolls up in front of the SW and he's like, yo, how much for? And she gives him the prices. Depending on what you want, I can provide it for you. He wanted to take her home. He didn't want service on the spot, so he wanted to take her to his house. So she agreed. She gets in his car and they start to drive away. Now the guy, there's really nothing suspicious or off-putting about him, considering like she's a SW. She's used to weirdos. She's used to creeps. So this is like, there's nothing standing out about this guy. He's on the steering wheel and she's next to him on the passenger seat. So they're driving, and y'all. And at some point, it looks like this driver is like basically falling asleep. Like he's just disassociating from the wheel and he looks like he's tired. She doesn't think anything of it and they keep going. They get a little bit further down the road. She saw something from her peripheral morph. So she does one of those and notices that the man who was driving the car turned into a dog.
What the fuck?
With his two front paws on the wheel, this SW is witnessing a dog driving a car when a few seconds before it was a man. So the SW proceeds to take out her cigarette. She had a cigarette like in the back of her ear. She proceeded to take out the cigarette. She lights up the cigarette and starts to smoke. As she lights her cigarette, she starts to chant. She says, moi-même c'est petit Jacques Maget mieux. Pita au moins Jacques Maget. Jacques Maget is a loi. He don't play about his children, so I think that was just her reinforcing her protection. After she says that like 3 times, Jacques Maget c'est petit tout, the freaking dog next to him looks like something startled the dog, and the motherfucker started morphing back into a human. And now it's back to a man driving the car. Now, of course, the story does not end here. A man looks over to her and says, I feel weird. Did you see anything weird? Do you feel anything weird? The SW looking straight ahead at the road says, nope. He said, you didn't sense anything? She said, no, I've just been in this car smoking a cigarette. She said, why? You feeling something? He says, yeah, I felt a little weird, so I just wanted to know if you saw something, if you felt anything. She said, nah, I ain't see nothing. Must be something in the air. He proceeded to drive all the way to his house. She got there and was absolutely horrified. So while the guy went to go take a shower, she went into his kitchen, grabbed a knife, and kept it it underneath her pillow. The whole time she was laying down like this, one arm underneath the pillow, holding on to the weapon. She would go on and do the do. She held on to that knife whole time, just in case. After they were done, it was way too dark and way too late for her to leave anyway, so she proceeded on staying the night, but she did not sleep all night. All night, she had that one hand under that pillow. The next morning, they woke up, he paid her, and she went on her way. But I was like, wait a minute, she went through with it? And she had to. If she had switched up anywhere in that timeline, that would have been it for her. Anyway, if you guys like these spooky Haitian stories, you can expect that I will be dropping another story time tomorrow. And I have an entire playlist of like 40 something videos, so go ahead and check them out. Go ahead and leave me a follow on TikTok and on Instagram. And leave me a comment letting me know what was your genuine reaction to this story. Also, thank you guys for 50,000 followers. Bye, boo-boo.
That's crazy that she still went through with it.
Not only are you not safe on the outside, be careful with how you reject men.
Not everybody can handle rejection, man. Some of them, they take it way too hard and it freaking breaks them down as a person, man. And they do horrible things. You guys, seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I drop a video. And hit that like button, man. It's going to help push into the algorithm, man. Like I said, we're taking this day by day. We're going to take off one day, but thank you guys for joining me on my journey. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.